Okay. Let's continue the conversation here on job losses. Obviously, unemployment ticking up. We've got some forecasts there on where we think it'll end, but currently sitting at 7.1. And like we said, no certainty in our jobs, no certainty in terms of buying a house. So talk to me a little bit about some of these key takeaways when it comes to the job losses we've been seeing, specifically these 66,000 jobs that we lost there in August.
Yeah, so this was an article, again, done by Better Dwelling. We were down 66,000 jobs lost in August, which was definitely not something we were expecting to be that high. And I do believe that that had an effect with the Bank of Canada cutting the rates. Unemployment up to 7.1. Again, forecasts have it at 7.3 to 7.5. So we still have some more pain in that area to come. And that's the highest since 2016 if we scrape out COVID. And then, the losses are broad based. So, we're seeing professional sectors, we're seeing a lot of sectors. So I know I spoke before that the automotive, steel, aluminum, lumber, they're seeing, but we're also seeing a stretch out as well. Like businesses are starting to contract a little bit because interest rates were so high for so long. And some consumers and some products, they are seeing people are like, listen, I got my payments for my mortgage are $300, $400, $500 a month higher. That money's not going somewhere else now. It's going to the bank to pay the interest. So we're seeing other businesses start to suffer for that. Yes, rate cuts will help with that, but not for another 6 to 12 months, probably 12 months. So we have to think about that going out. So there's been the narrative of a soft landing. I'm still in the camp of potentially a soft landing here. And I know a lot of people might not agree with me with that. But again, I think the government's going to come out with a lot of money and try and build. We'll see how efficient that is. Consumers and business confidence is weakening. And it is, how does that change? Well, I think they've been fed this massive fear story from the US about the tariffs from Donald Trump. And people are out there thinking that 100% tariffs are on everything, but that's not the case. It's only at 85. So maybe confidence starts to come back up a little bit when interest rates come down and the government's spending more money. What really worries me is the youth unemployment in this country is skyrocketing right now. I don't have the data points to know, are they being pushed out? Are they just not interested in getting jobs at their age? I don't know. I don't have a young person in my family that I can communicate that information with to see kind of what the data points are for why that's getting worse. But it's a very big cause for concern. These people are starting out in their lives and they can't even start with a job. You can't even afford a house, even if you have a job, but you don't even have a job. So that's extremely concerning to me. And that's something I hope our governments are going to focus on is making sure that the youth because if not, they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to go to the US. They're going to go to other countries. They're going to go to other provinces to find jobs. And it's critically important that we get these numbers down more.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Come back over here. Okay. The return to office mandates. And it's interesting because when we looked at how COVID happened at first, I think there was obviously a lot of fear on how our housing market, of course, would be impacted on this. And then it had kind of the opposite effect of what people would have thought. We saw a big run up in sales and, of course, prices. A lot of other factors came into there. But what we also saw was a mass exodus from the core areas out to more rural pockets and more suburbs. And we saw prices extend as we talk about like the big growth that we saw in Barrie and Georgina. And a lot of that people were able to do because they were able to work from home or they were only in the office 1 or 2 days a week, stuff like that. And now we're starting to see that flip back over and bringing people back into the office because that change also had a huge impact on commercial real estate, specifically office buildings. Right. So there's a lot of different changes that happened and we're still adjusting to them. So Matt, walk me through a little bit on what's going on as we talk about the return to the office, specifically around Toronto.
Yeah. So when the pandemic happened, Zoom became an extremely efficient tool, which allowed people to get work done outside of the office and not need to commute in. And I think at first a lot of businesses said, wow, this could save us an incredible amount of money. We don't potentially need these office spaces. We need to be competitive as well. And people that might want to work for us might not want to come to the office. We might have a better chance of getting better talent if we have this option of working from home. But, I think the data is telling us that maybe that's not the case. Maybe employers want them back. Maybe employers can't get out of the contracts that they're in for the office spaces that they own. So they just need people to come back. But it has an impact on the outlying areas of Toronto or the GTA, your Barries, your Keswicks, your Peterboroughs, because people were moving to those areas thinking that from now on, I don't have to go back to the city. And we're seeing governments, banks, telecommunication companies, a lot of different companies are saying, no, you know what? You need to come back, even if it's only for 3 days a week. Yeah. We're starting to see that people might not want to even do 3 days a week of a commute. And prices have maybe contracted enough in the Toronto area where they're starting to think, hey, you know what? Maybe it is an option to start to move back into the city. So, this article is just highlighting that if we look at the top left chart here, we were, I don't know what percentage that is, 5-10% of people were commuting to the downtown. And now that's the amount of people downtown is up to 78%. So it is climbing to the significant side. We're seeing a lot of people go back there. And what kind of formation are we going to see happen in the housing market, in the family market? Are we going to see that pullback or not? So that's definitely something that we're keeping an eye on to see how that affects, definitely our areas, the Newmarket, Aurora, East Gwillimbury areas, how it affects the buyers. I actually was at an open house yesterday and I saw a lot of people still coming from Toronto in the Newmarket area looking to buy. So
yeah,
might not be as big of an impact as the charts are telling us as of today.
Yeah, we'll see if that direction change starts flowing back the other way. And I would say one of the positive sides of this is if we do see what would potentially come from this is that renewed demand in the condos, right? More people getting jobs down there, being like, okay, I'm going to live in the city. Hopefully that, especially with prices, there's a lot of value in the condo market right now, provided you're buying the right unit in the right building. Prices have come down so tremendously in that segment. And one of the biggest challenges that I see for the rest of our housing market is we've kind of cut out the bottom part of our funnel as people feed up through the housing market. You buy your starter condo, you gain some equity there, then you can buy your townhouse or your semi, and then the semi to your first detached, then your detached to your trophy home or whatever it might be. But with the condo market pricing being wiped down as much as it has, there's a real lack of equity there to help people take that next step going up. And so until those condo prices come back around, I think we will still have a fundamental challenge in our housing market rebounding because the bottom part of the funnel isn't trickling up anymore. So if we see this return into the condo market where we start to see some prices come back up again, I do think that there's a chance there that will overall help the rest of our market. So it will be interesting to see as we continue to watch this data, does this actually help our condo market? And I think at the moment, Matt, my hot take is that I don't think there's anything that can help our condo market right now. I feel like it is going to be a long haul to get the overall downtown core condo market back to where it was. There's been too many other policy changes. There's been too much of a shift, even just in how our society looks at things. The only saving grace there is they've really slowed down on building, which has its own other challenges, but at least we're not pumping in a ton more units into an already oversaturated market.
We're still finishing a lot, but that is going to wane out very soon. So there is more supply to hit the market, but you hit the nail on the head in regards to we've stopped building anything new. We've stopped selling anything new, which ultimately means in the future that there will be another issue with housing. We've slowed down immigration for now. We have a baby boomer population that's all starting to retire. So we need to infill all those individuals. So we are slowing down on immigration now, but it will hopefully uptick at a reasonable level, but it's still going to be a big enough level that we can't stop building right now, because we're just going to face another issue
down the road,
in 28, 29, maybe even 27.
It's
But one other, I'm going to blow this one up here a little bit more to kind of show that where Toronto, the average days in office per week, Toronto's currently at 2.7. But if we look prior to the pandemic, we were up there at the 4. And when we look at some of the major cities around the world, we are tied with London as the lowest amount of people who are going back to the office right now. So we are seeing other places bring everybody back. What will happen with Canada? Will we start to crawl our way back up to the top? Will we just meet in the middle? Something's going to shift. We're not going to stay as low as what we've seen now.